Can you hear okay if I try and use this microphone? Okay. Yeah. So, welcome everybody, and I'll go through the formalities. So, a reminder to meeting attendees that this is a formal meeting, and I can advise that members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak during public open session, but not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the data protection rights of that individual. May I please ask everyone to mute their microphones when not speaking? And if anybody online can hear the noises, it's fireworks. It's not something in this meeting. So we have apologies for absence from Councillor Jones and Councillor Knight, which will be recorded. Do we have any declarations of interest, please? Nothing? No, thank you. I don't have any announcements. So we're now on to public open session. Do we have anybody online? No? Okay, there's nobody in the chamber. Members' questions. Do we have any members' questions? No? Okay, thank you. So we've got the minutes of the personnel meeting from the 19th of August. So I'll go through them for accuracy to start with. So anything on page 6 of the pack? Anything on page 7? Okay. May I sign them as a correct record, please? Thank you. Are there any matters arising from those 2 pages that aren't on the agenda? No? Okay. Thank you. So, items for consideration. We have the Personnel Committee budget setting. So it's our chance as a committee to look specifically at our budget and see whether we're happy with the budget as it stands or whether we want any adjustments to take forward to council. So, Anne Spore, would you like to just introduce the item, please?
All right. Thank you, Chair. So the relevant parts of the budget has already been discussed at standing committees, which is the PLUS and TCM already. So this will be the 3rd time. And today we'll be focusing only on these personnel related elements of the budget. So the salary model is based on existing establishment. And I will start with the basic pay. So in terms of the basic pay, the variance is made up of pay scale progression. So officers are assuming that employees who have not reached on top of the scales will at least move up 1 point. But this is based on appraisal, so it's not like it's automatic. It's based on appraisals. But I must say that a majority of employees who've been working in the council for a very, very long time are already on top of the scale. So it's not everyone who will be moved up. And in terms of the basic pay, an element of the variation is the cost of living pay allowance, which is determined nationally by a National Joint Council. So in terms of the body that negotiates on behalf of employers is the Local Government Association, and the employees is the unions, which is made up of Unison, GBM, and Unite. And at the time of writing this paper, the 2026-2027 is not known. In terms of the pay award percentage, but officers have assumed 3.5% on top of the basic pay. There've been suggestions for the NJC to really determine this percentage as early as possible. to help with budgeting for local town councils. But we hope that that advice will be heard to in future. So another element of the salary budget is the pension. Bedfordshire Pension Fund has already made the council aware that there is evaluation going on, and the results will be known at the end of November, which is this month, 2025. And also, officers have assumed national insurance percentage on top of the basic pay, which is 15%, the same as last financial year. But again, that is likely to change at the end of this year, at the end of November 2025, not this year. And lastly, there is an overtime element for officers coming to evening meetings and for events as well. And this is only for eligible officers. And some officers, I must say, also prefer to take on toys. So even though there is a budget figure for overtime, it might not be used. The whole amount might not be used during the 2026-2027. Moving up to the next page. So the recommendation is for members to offer some guidance for the budget 2026-2027. And this information will inform the finance and general purposes meeting on 2nd of December 2025, and at the council meeting on 20th of January 2026. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So as Ernest has just said, there's a lot in this budget that we can't do anything about. We wait to hear the result of the evaluation of the Bedfordshire Pension Fund. We wait to hear whether there are any changes in the budget. We've got later on some information about training, the kind of training that we're giving to our staff, which explains the training budget that's here. So over to colleagues for any comments or questions. Duncan, sorry, Councillor Strawn.
Thank you. I noticed on the budget we've got the overtime for all BCT, that's code 4000. There's a big increase for the next year according to this. Does this figure actually include employers' national insurance and superannuation in those figures, or is that separate?
Please.
It doesn't include pensions and national insurance. It's on its own, and the reason why there is increase, there is also an estimated time for standby cover for emergency call out. So that has also been included, but it's a very small element of the 15,000.
So in that respect, it covers all the costs, and you're anticipating that we may have additional costs. Is there any way some of this could be met by, say, toil, so that we don't have the double whammy? Because we've got a lot more staff, certainly in public realm, than we have had in previous years. So are there any way that savings can be made there? And again, I'm just looking at the figures at the very bottom one, agency staff of 10,000, which includes recruitment costs, etc., in anticipation that the staff turnover. We've had staff turnover this year. So is that figure really necessary to be included in the budget?
I think it's safety first, but your first point about overtime and toil, when staff help out at events and things like Remembrance Sunday this Sunday, they get offered either overtime or toil. And some of them choose to take toil because of their personal circumstances, some wish to take overtime. But also we are dependent on those staff volunteering. We can't make them support the events because it's outside their normal working hours. So I think that's the situation, isn't it? So they do get offered toil as well, and some of them take toil. Councillor Foster?
I was going to pick up on the same point. I mean, it does seem like if my it's like 50% more than the budget for this year, more than 50, like 58% more. So it seems quite a big increase in compared to what we've got this year. So that you've answered the question. We just need to decide whether we want to go with that. And I think I have to say that I didn't fully understand how the superannuation works and how we've got a £40,000 variance on that, which is based on 0.1% increase. So would you explain that, why it is that big number, so that I'm clear in my own mind why it is? I'm sure it makes sense. I just don't fully understand it myself.
Well, shall I explain how?
Please, if you don't mind.
Works,
Yep.
and then Ernest can
Yep.
answer the detailed question. The Bedfordshire Pension Fund is a fully funded pension, unlike all other public sector pensions, which are paid out of current taxation. Until Mr. Brown, when he was Chancellor, introduced a tax on the earnings on investments, the Bedfordshire Pension Fund was 100% funded by the investments. And I know that because I was a trustee of the fund at that time. Since then, the latest I heard, and it's not very recent, so it may be a different figure, but it had gone down to being 85% funded. So the other thing that was introduced by John Prescott was a law that the employee contribution to the local government pension fund cannot be increased beyond 6%. So then every 3 years, there's an actuarial valuation of the pension fund to see, they look at the current pensioners and pensioners who are people who are in the scheme and will become pensioners, and they look at it individually across each employer in the scheme. They don't just look at the scheme overall. So they look at each employer and they look at their liabilities, and they work out how much the employer contribution has to go up to cover the pensions that that employer is liable for. And it's always the employer contribution. And I mean, when I was closely involved, it was nothing like the figures that we're seeing now, but year on year, things are increasing. So the Bedfordshire Pension Fund is between a rock and a hard place on this. So I think, Ernest, you've had some conversations with the pension fund. Do you want to answer Councillor Foster's question, please?
That's right. So the councillor has been informed that there is a valuation going on at the moment. So the percentage we have applied now is an estimate. So it may go up, but it can also come down, but we don't know yet at the moment. And everything, basic pay, overtime, all unfortunately are pensionable. So that explains why the figure is high at the moment, but it might come down, it might go up.
So it's an estimate at the moment, and it's just when you look at the variance, it looks like a 25% increase on last year or thereabouts. It seems that's not quite right. It's about 20% of an increase, which again seems quite significant given the numbers that we're talking about. So hence the reason wanting to fully understand it. So if that is the case, then we need to be mindful of that. Thank you.
So I mean, we won't know our final budget until we know what is in the Chancellor's budget and what is the result of that actuarial valuation. So any more questions or comments from colleagues, please? Ernest, do you want to?
Thank you. Sorry, I wanted to clarify Councillor Strong's comment earlier on about the agency staff fee. So that is not included at the moment, but members can change that narration for it to be included in the budget, and it's merely to cover for absent and illness. So definitely that 10,000 is not included at the moment, and also for recruitment cost. So it's just a notional figure at the moment, but it's not included in the budget.
Ah, I hadn't understood that. Thank you. Councillor Strawn?
No, just looking at it in reality, it appears we've paid nothing this year. I don't know how much we've paid in the past year. And in practical terms, in many cases, we wouldn't be having temporary staff in for normal sickness. It's going to be something that's more extreme than that. And to a certain degree, I'd have thought that generally if someone left, that the time that we take to recruit a replacement, that might well actually cover the costs. So I'm not totally convinced that we need a budget to quite that level of 10,000. Maybe a contingency of 5,000 would be sensible, but I don't. It doesn't seem to have been a problem this year. I'm not sure what previous years have been. So if we've found out that this year is the exception where there's no additional charges, but I'd hope that normally our overall staffing budget would have covered it. And if we're getting agency staff in, then we presumably aren't paying superannuation at the Bedfordshire Council rate. So there actually may be some pluses to that. Okay, thank you, Councillor Foster.
I would say that we don't include it in the budget for this year, and if there is an absolute need for it, then we deal with that accordingly. But I don't think we should be budgeting for something that the likelihood of us not needing it is quite high. And if we do need it, then we use reserves or another method.
So is that a proposal?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Are we all happy to not put that 10,000 in the budget? Councillor Gilshire?
Just clarification, we haven't paid out any year to date fees, agencies, recruitment costs.
So are we all happy? Yes? Okay, so I think you've got the steer there that we don't wish to include the £10,000. Is there anything else on this budget sheet that anybody wants to raise? As I say, we don't have a lot of leeway on this, so no. Okay, so may I move on? Yes, okay. There are no items for information, no members of the public, still nobody online. No, so we can go through there. And I've lost my other sheet of paper. There we are. So we're straight on to exempt. So may we move the resolution it's advisable. Thank you very much. Are we all in agreement? Thank you. Thanks very much.